the second day of that last week of his life, the week that we called Holy, was walking back from Bethany to Jerusalem. He'd been staying there after the triumphant entry that he had with all the people shouting Hosanna to him on the way into the city. As he was walking in that next day, he saw a fig tree over in the distance, and it had full of leaves. It would be expected to be almost ready to bear fruit, because that season came just after the Passover season that they were in. Jesus went over to find there was nothing on the tree. Despite it being full in leaf, there was no fruit for him to eat. And Jesus cursed the fig tree and told it that it would never bear fruit again. Why? Well, lots of people think it's a metaphor for who we are and for who God's people were. That even although it looked as though they were doing the right thing, even although it looked as though they were behaving properly, they were religious, they were worshipping God, actually, they weren't doing it properly. They weren't standing up for God's people. They weren't standing up for the poorest in society. They weren't standing up for those whom God would say had his mind. And so, what about us? Well, perhaps we are the same. Perhaps we don't stand up to power. Perhaps we don't stand up to injustice. Perhaps we don't act as the way that God would have us act. Perhaps we look like we're bearing fruit. Perhaps the looks can be deceiving. Jesus cursed that fig tree, but it looked good, but it had no substance. It wasn't doing what it was meant to do. Let's not make the same mistake. Let us ensure that we are bearing God's fruit. God bless you in this Holy Week journey.